Beijing, China. From the dawn of the 1st of August to the 4th of August, 2,025 emergency bells thundered across the capital and its surrounding mountain villages. A frenzied symphony of sirens, loudspeakers, and desperate shouts echoed. Evacuate now or face the flood. Comment 1 if you are also affected by these storms. 0 if you are not affected by the storms. Sirens, bells, loudspeakers. All of Beijing reverberated with chaos. Evacuate now. The shout echoed through the streets and mountain valleys. People fled in the pouring rain. Children cried. Elderly people staggered. Alleys were blocked. People pushed and shoved. In Menyugu, Funan, Changping, rescue vehicles rushed in loudspeakers blaring, "Go now, or you will be swept away." The whole city was plunged into an unprecedented evacuation. In Menyugu, Funan, Changping, the flood tore everything in its path. Steel bridges broke in half. Stone bridges collapsed. Whole bridges fell straight into the murky water. Houses on the mountainside were uprooted, swept away from their foundations. Mud and earth rushed down, swallowing whole roofs. Asphalt roads cracked and peeled off like sheets of paper. The entire city was gripped by chaos. From crowded urban blocks to remote highland hamlets, families scrambled to escape as the skies unleashed relentless torrents of rain. And in an instant, Beijing was plunged into a hydrological nightmare of unprecedented scale. Cars and trucks floated overturned, piled up into piles of metal trash in the midst of the raging sea. Beijing, this splendid capital, in an instant became a battlefield of raging floods. The first number sent shivers down the spine of the world. More than 242 bridges washed away or damaged, along with 2,4,0,0 collapsed houses. And most horrifying of all, more than 1 million people were forced to leave their homes, an unprecedented mass evacuation.
Gear start gear. Gear start. Side gear. Gear start.
In Beijing's history, the city's deputy mayor admitted, "We have not yet been able to fully count the casualties, but the damage to infrastructure is beyond imagination. Those cold numbers are proof of a disaster that has gone beyond any response scenario." Buses, trucks, private cars stretched endlessly. Headlights flashed through the white rain. Engine noise, horns, screams mixed with chaos. The main roads were blocked, people and vehicles were stuck in the rising water. Groups of people waded through the water, their arms holding luggage, their eyes on the shelter. Schools, gymnasiums, city halls turned into makeshift shelters. Thousands of people huddled under unfamiliar roofs. The cries of children, the groans of the elderly, all created a tragic picture of evacuation. This was no longer a city, but a giant crowd racing against death. Electric poles were knocked down. Power lines across the mountains were torn apart by the flood. Bridges were broken, roads were ruined, and rescue vehicles could not reach them. Villages were completely isolated, like islands in the middle of a raging sea. In the dark, people lit candles waiting for each weak rescue signal. Helicopters had to circle overhead, dropping supplies. Rescue teams walked and waded through mud to find each group of people still trapped. The silence of the mountainous areas cut off from communication was more terrifying than the roar of the flood. Bridges collapsed, houses washed away, vehicles were strewn across the landscape. More than 1 million people were forced to leave their homes. These are wounds not only carved on the ground, but also deeply engraved in people's hearts. But the rain has not stopped. That once stood firm are now nothing but piles of rubble. Walls collapsed, roofs torn away, foundations ripped out by the raging flood. A mountain village vanished in an instant, leaving only scarred traces in the mud. Busy roads have turned into murky rivers. Peeled away, gaping potholes, exposed traffic markers drowned beneath the water. Vehicles lay half submerged, many swept away, overturned. Seek shelter in a strong place when you hear of a storm, and always have faith that God will protect you. Electric poles were broken, cables were tangled in the flood. Bridges collapsed, roads were buried, rescue vehicles stood helplessly outside. Dozens of villages were isolated, standing alone in the middle of the roaring sea. People had only flickering candles. They waited for each weak signal from the walkie-talkie. Helicopters circled the rainy sky, dropping relief packages. Rescue teams were forced to wade through mud, carrying people out of the isolated area. And the shadow of natural disasters still hangs in the sky. Thank you for watching Earthstorm, where we recreate the most terrible wrath of nature. If you find this video useful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is the strength for us to continue bringing the most authentic perspectives.